Welcome back, friends. I hope you had a good couple of weeks since our last episode and a wonderful Valentine's Day, which, P.S., we did upload a little bonus content on YouTube doing a Valentine's Day unboxing. Go watch that if you haven't already. And I also hope you had a wonderful Super Bowl Sunday. Go sports. Big fan of the Lindsay Lohan commercial.
And the superb owl party.
Yes, the superb owl party. Guys, if you haven't watched What We Do in the Shadows, you probably should. Oh, and also Happy Valentine's Day, belatedly. Not as excited about that holiday as I was about the other two, so.
Did you at least get lava cake on Valentine's Day?
No. Okay, so I have a very wonderful husband, but we are not Valentine's Day people. Like, going out to eat or leaving the home on Valentine's Day is, like, the least appealing thing ever because it's just, like, everyone is trying to take their partner out to eat. And it's just too crowded and too people-y. So, I can't even remember. Oh, I ordered DoorDash. We got McAllister's because husband's on a diet, so he got healthy sandwich and salad. So, bleh.
But
yeah,
McAllister's has some good mac and cheese, though.
They don't have the mac and cheese at my location. I know.
No.
I was shocked as well.
Burn it down.
I'm about to. Our Taco John's burnt down. I might as well burn down McAllister's too and take away everything good in the world.
Oh, I love Taco John's. But there's no Taco John's here in good parts of town. Because it's like you really need a Taco John's in like a college town with like the other college restaurants. Not just like out in the middle of nowhere.
It's very true. And very sad that they've been telling me that they're rebuilding Taco John's for like since it burnt down like 8 months ago, and nothing. There is nothing. There's a sign out front of their Taco John's buildings that says closed due to fire, but it's closed DO to fire. Like the employees didn't know how to spell like due to. It was like DO and not DUE. It just makes me laugh every single time that I like drive by the illiterate Taco John's that's burnt down. I feel like I'm going to re-rail us because this conversation is going to quickly devolve into us talking about fast food. And that is literally a 30-minute conversation that we have to edit out of nearly every podcast. But
all right, re-rail.
I prepared a little bit of a game for us. So I think this might have been your idea at one point. And basically, it's fuck, marry, kill. However, I don't even hypothetically want to like have to choose which serial killer I want to marry. So, and also I like it when games have a catchy title. So I have renamed it Smash, Pass, or Kick Their Ass.
Okay.
I have a couple graphics, and I'm going to send them to you, and we'll put them up on the video as well, so you guys can see who we're talking about in case you're not familiar with these famous people. But we're going to play Smash, Pass, or Kick Their Ass Serial Killer Edition. Okay. So I've just sent you the first one.
Okay.
And I'm going to kind of set the scene here. So, and like set some parameters for this game. So my way of thinking of this is we are out at a nightclub. These three people are in attendance. Who are you taking home? Who are you just like hard swerve, like don't dance with me, loser? And then who are you like going outside and kicking their ass bar fight style? And a caveat with that is that I will not tell you to what degree you're kicking their ass. If you want to beat them to death, fine by me. If you want to catch a charge, that's okay. Or if you just want to like punch them in the face and let them rot in prison, that's fine too. So,
all right.
Did you get the graphic? Has it sent?
Yes.
Okay, so first up, we have Bundy, Manson, and Ramirez.
I'm gonna smash Bundy. I'm gonna pass Manson, and I'm gonna kick Ramirez's ass.
Okay, so I had the same answer for Smash because, and my justification is that Ted Bundy did have a long-term relationship, so he does know how to please a woman.
Like,
yes, true.
He's the only one that's actually
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, so I am also smashing Bundy, and Ramirez. I don't even want to, like, touch him because he looks like a greasy fuck. So I'm just hard passing on him. And then Manson, I feel like he is a small man. So I could kick his ass. Like, physically. So that's my answer.
Yeah, the thing with Manson, though, is, like, he wasn't actually... I mean, he was a bad dude, but, like, a lot of it was... didn't have a lot to do, actually, with the helter-skelter. He just, like, got caught in a drug deal gone bad, and then he's like, well, shit, now I gotta do something about this. So
yeah,
that's, like, really why he did the Manson murders, but Ramirez was
I
just
just
a
feel
piece
more
of shit.
physically capable. I feel like Ramirez probably, because he had more victims, so he probably deserves the ass-kicking more, but physically, I think I would be swinging out of my league, so I feel like I could more capably beat Charles Manson's ass.
That's fair enough. I feel like I could kick Ramirez's ass, though. Like, I could, yeah, I could kick Richard Ramirez's
Have you ever seen
ass.
pictures of his hands before? His hands literally look like salad fingers, if you're familiar. Like, his fingers are just, like, long and disgusting.
Like, crooked and, hello, friends.
Got a rusty, what was it? Rusty spoons. And then they're
Rusty
nettles.
spoons?
Yes. Something about nettle milk.
I don't remember. All I remember is the part where he's like,
oh, I miss salad fingers. That was like peak internet, like salad fingers. And do you remember Homestar Runner?
yeah.
Oh, God.
And like Charlie the Unicorn.
Mm-hmm. God, I feel bad for the kids nowadays that will never know what the early internet was, because it was just really, like, a great place. Granted, there's, like, a lot of other great stuff out there now, but you're not getting those, like, peak mint, like, early internet age webtoons that were just great.
Like
Also
luring
Neopets.
pedophiles to their death on AIM.
Yeah, yeah. Or, like, chatting with people that were pretending to be older people, but were also probably 10-year-olds pretending to be older people on Neopets. Yeah. Okay,
I feel like you and I had vastly
2.
different internet experiences as children.
You know what? Probably so. Yeah, probably so. I spent a lot of time on the Neopets chat rooms, Mom, if you're listening to this. It sounds creepier than it is, because I'm pretty sure that everyone on there pretending to be an older person was actually also a 10-year-old pretending to be like a 16-year-old. And like you would go ASL in the chat, and then you'd be like, I'm 16, female from Cali. And you just like lie about who you were. Trade paintbrushes.
I didn't play Neopets.
Man, I'm gonna have to log on and see if Neopets still exists, because they had some like really great internet games, and that's mostly what I was in it for.
I thought I saw something where they're making a Neopets game for Switch.
If that's not true, Ashlee, and you just told me that, and it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be so upset with you.
Just Google it real quick. Do a quick Google.
Okay, so it is happening. There is no release date yet.
I told you. Would I lie to you?
Oh my god, 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 oh my god. Okay, I am gonna have to do a deep dive on this later, because I've gotten like kind of out of, oh my god, they even have, oh my god. Okay, guys. What? Fuck. I want to look at this now. Okay. No. As Eminem says, back to reality. Okay, so.
Smash Pass, kick your ass.
Smash Pass, kick your ass. I've only got 2 rounds because I figured we can make this an ongoing thing, and I don't want to run through all my serial killers. But for round 2, we have Eileen Wuornos, John Wayne Gacy, and Ed Kemper.
I would say smash Kemper, pass on Wuornos, and kick Gacy's ass, because Kemper, like, intelligent, again, clean, kind of crazy, but, like, you know, Eileen, I don't want to get into that, like, either way, it's not going to end well, so I'm going to walk by and be like, and then Gacy, I'm going to kick his ass because he's gross.
Okay, so I had a different answer than you, but after listening to you rationalize that, I'm like, maybe that is their correct path, but I'm still gonna kick Gacy's ass because look at him, he's in a clown outfit.
He's a literal
I was
clown.
going to smash Eileen Wuornos because she only murdered men, I think, or like primarily, and so her crimes weren't like sexually motivated, so I feel like she would be a gentle lover, but she do be looking dirty, and she was also like, I don't know, well, they're all crazy, but she like has the crazy eyes, so I'm like,
yeah,
would that work out well? Whereas Kemper, you know, he's tall, and that goes a long way in my book. You can be tall, and if you're clean and tall, well, that's fine. We'll give it a ride.
Yeah.
We'll try it out.
Yeah, as long as like the implication is that he's not gonna like murder you, because that was his thing, is that he would murder.
Yeah, we should add that caveat to this game, is that in all Smash situations, you do make it out alive in this fantasy game that we're playing. I should also note that I understand it sounds very much like we're fantasizing and romanticizing serial killers, and you know what? Maybe that's a little bit what we're doing, but like just, this is one of those like gun to your head, you had to pick one of the three situation. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, ideally, we're kicking all of their asses, except for Eileen Wuornos, because she scares me. Like,
yeah, she do be scary.
I'm not intimidated by much, and Eileen Wuornos scares me. Like, she intimidates me.
Well,
like,
there's
I'll
something
fight
to be
God.
said, too, about a woman that can, like, take
Murder
down and
multiple
murder
men.
multiple full-grown men. Like, she has to have, like, super strength, superpowers, super... I don't know.
It's her force of will, man. That's what scares me, is because I think that her force of will is stronger than my force of will, and that scares me.
Oftentimes, I feel like when a woman is in a situation where they are physically capable of beating someone's ass, it's not because they outsize them, but because the sheer power of will and hatred running through their veins fuels them to just kick the shit out of someone. And that should be terrifying to all you men out there listening, maybe. If you fuck with a woman, it doesn't matter that she's small, because she will let that rage fucking fuel her, and she will probably beat your ass.
She might kill you.
She might kill you. She might take a knife and just slice your pee-pee off. It's happened before.
It's happened multiple times.
Yeah. With good reason, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, people don't just go around slicing off pee-pees for no reason.
No. Mm-mm.
Gotta deserve it. See, women are rational, too. They're not gonna just do stuff without warranting.
It's true. It's very true. I was trying to find more female serial killers, but I'm like, you know what? We're not going to do an all-female round, because I feel like there's not enough female serial killers to pick from that we would all know and love. So maybe I'll bring this back. Maybe this will be like a recurring segment. Maybe not. I make a lot of empty promises here.
What about, like, Elizabeth Bathory?
The blood drinking lady?
Well, she bathed in blood, but yeah.
Oh, yes. Or Marie Laveau. Wait, no, not Marie Laveau. She was a good one. New Orleans lady.
Yeah.
Played by the lady on American Horror Story, whose name it has escaped me.
I can't remember either.
Madame LaLaurie.
Yeah, LaLaurie.
Yes.
Okay, wait.
Maybe I will do. Next week we'll come back with Smash Pass or Kick Their Ass, and I'll do an all-female version, and we'll have to discuss and deep dive.
Well, we don't have to do an all-female version, but throwing some females in there, because we need equal representation. Yes. And also, listeners, if you want to get in on the Smash Pass Kick Their Ass, let us know. Let us know in the comments.
Should I put this on our Instagram stories? And we can all play Smash Pass or Kick Their Ass?
Yes, I think so.
If you haven't seen it on our Instagram already, be on the lookout for it. Ashlee story time. What are you talking about this week?
Today's topic on my end is brought to you by one of my dumbass cousins who decided to join a cult.
Yes! I love family drama. I don't love being involved in family drama. I love it when it's family drama, but it's far enough removed that it has no effect on me, but I still get all the tea. Like, I get all the juicy gossip, and I don't have to, like, see these people at Christmas. So, I love it.
Yeah, like, I haven't seen this kid since he was probably, like, 6 or 7. So, like, I'm pretty far removed from it. And I'd say that, like, he's just naive, but I'm pretty sure that everyone in our extended family has said, hey, this is a cult. You shouldn't be joining it. Like, you shouldn't be going here. And he is just like, you know what? No, I'm going to go here. So, today
is he joining the Yellow Deli people?
Huh?
Is it the Yellow Deli people?
No, it's College of the Ozarks.
Which is great, even better, because I know nothing about this.
I didn't either until I learned about it just now because of my cousin who joined a cult.
Yes.
And by the way, if any of my family is listening, good. I hope that you tell him that he's an idiot. And if you don't think he's an idiot, or at the very least disagree with the choice that he's made, then I think you're also an idiot. Sorry, not sorry. But
well said.
He's dumb. Like,
she said what she said, guys.
Yeah, like go to trade school or something.
Yeah. Anything. Literally anything else.
Right. Literally anything but join a cult. So, the College of the Ozarks is an unfortunately accredited fundamentalist Christian college located in Point Lookout, Missouri. The entire town is pretty much dedicated to the college, and it's located in the southern part of the state, which is actually only about an hour from Eureka Springs, which now that I think about it, I can remember talking to one of the locals, and they were like, oh yeah, we get a lot of rejects from that creepy Christian college. So, it, like, clicked when I was doing this research. I was like, oh wait, like, somebody said something about that.
Oh, jeez.
Like, and they were talking about this, and because they hit on some of the points. So, the College of the Ozarks' vision is to develop citizens of Christ-like character who are well-educated, hardworking, and patriotic. To achieve this vision, the college has academic, vocational, Christian, patriotic, and cultural goals. Even as College of the Ozarks has evolved through secondary and junior college stages to the present four-year liberal arts institution, the fundamental goals have remained the same. So, the goals. That was their, like, vision statement. Let's talk about their goals. If any of our listeners were in 4-H, you'll remember the 4-H pledge. You know, I pledge my head to clear thinking, yada, yada, yada. So College of the Ozarks was, like, phenomenal. We love it, but we're going to make our own version. So that's what their goals are. So academic, the Christian, cultural, patriotic, and vocational goals. And their mission is also to provide the advantages of a Christian education for youth of both sexes, especially those found worthy. Key point for later. But who are without sufficient means to procure such training. So, if you read between the lines, they want to select people that are easy to manipulate and are in a vulnerable position so that they can't afford schooling. Important. So you might be asking yourself, like, this seems like an average Christian college. They're all looking out for their good Christian children. What about this is cult-like? Well, it's the radical enforcement of the goals that's extremely concerning.
Oh, no.
Also known as Work Hard U and the Bible Belt Ivy, the draw of the College of the Ozarks is that no one actually pays to go there in a traditional sense. Instead, the college requires the student body to work in different areas of the college and town to pay for their education. This work college...
Other fucking institutions would even be like, I'm part of the Ivy League of the Bible Belt.
Right, and that's, like, a huge object of, like, pride for them. And they also have said, I mean, like, the current president, who's been the president since 1960, has said stuff like, nobody has ever said that I don't understand my students and what they're going through. And it's like, no, very clearly you don't. We'll get into that later, though. So, this work college model, it comes from its founding in 1901. It was founded by James Forsyth, pastor of Forsyth Presbyterian Church. It's said that he struck up a conversation with a young lad who was out squirrel hunting one day, and the boy told Forsyth that he couldn't go to high school. He couldn't afford to go to high school because it was over 40 miles away, and his parents just couldn't afford the room and board. So James Forsyth, he decided, you know what, I'm going to found my own high school. The School of the Ozarks, where no child is going to be required to pay for education or board if they cannot afford it. So, through time and multiple catastrophic fires, it became the College of the Ozarks, an accredited university. Funding for the construction of the original school was originally provided by Lewis and William Huggins, two of the founders of the Nabisco Corporation, which that in itself is a red flag because Nabisco has traditionally had some shady business dealings.
I feel like we've talked about these two gentlemen before funding something.
I'm sure they did. They got fuck you money. Like,
I wonder, honestly, I think it might have been the Crescent.
I don't think it was. I think it was something else.
There was
Maybe
something we talked about where it was like railroad money, but also I think these two, if I can figure out what it was, I'll maybe I was gonna say, I'll link it somewhere.
Yeah,
I won't do that.
This is cracker money. Literally cracker money.
Cracker money.
But also cracker money.
I wonder if they were making Oreos yet at that point.
No, because Oreo is a direct ripoff of another cookie called the Hydrox, which I think was made later.
What an unappealing name for a cookie.
That's why it didn't do as well as the Oreo, because it had like a very chemically sounding name. Fun fact. But they ripped it off and they're like, Oreo, and people loved it, so.
And then every person with a black and white cat named their cat Oreo. From here until infinity.
Or like a blue tick dog.
Mm-hmm.
Or a merle dog.
Anytime you bring up food or anything that's like food related, I feel like I throw us off the track here. You said Nabisco and I was like, cookies.
Cookies?
Crackers?
Oreos do be good though.
Oreos, oh my god. Cookies and cream ice cream. My lactose intolerance could, well, I eat it anyway, but only in the safety of my own home.
When you go to Culver's and you get their whatever concrete mixers or whatever the hell they're called, but you get chocolate custard, Oreos, and Snickers.
Oh my god, that sounds so good.
Okay, anyways, back to the College of the Ozarks.
Yes, College of the Ozarks.
So Nabisco brothers.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have one more cookie related thought.
Go for it.
Did you know that Aldi sells almost exact ripoff of the Girl Scout Samoas? FYI, PSA to anyone that doesn't want to buy anything from the cookie hawking bitches on the corner. Because, listen, I support the Girl Scouts, but also when I'm going in and out of Best Buy or Walmart or Target, I don't want to buy cookies from you. I just don't, because I don't want to talk to strangers.
See, that's why I don't go into stores.
I
only go to Costco.
Not in this time of Corona. You've found some good Costco finds lately, though, so I hope to God that I soon move to somewhere with a Costco, or I will even take a Sam's Clubs or a Big Lots. Like, I'm fucking desperate.
Big Lots has had some good, like, interior design stuff lately, too.
They've had, like, some great, like, sofa sets, too. According to TikTok. Also, is that where was that big greenhouse you sent me from? Was that a Costco thing?
Costco.
Oh, of course it was fucking Costco.
Anyways, back on track. Back to Cookie Brothers.
College of the Ozarks.
So, they're paying for these kids' education this whole time. And in 2013, the administration took a step over the edge when their concern about the college debt crisis led them to set a policy in place where they no longer would accept any form of loan as financing for college, and they made the work program credits pretty much mandatory, with optional summer credits for those that really couldn't pay anything out of pocket. The average is about 15 credits or hours a week, and then a lot of times you would go over into more, plus whatever summer, like working at least 40 hours, if not more, during the summer. So they expressed confidence that they would be able to pay for all of its students between the students' labor and generous donations. So students can work across campus in cafeteria, housing, maintenance, landscaping, agricultural, and other jobs. They have a working hog and cattle farm, gardens, lodging, a restaurant, and a fruitcake and jelly kitchen. Fun fact, the fruitcake and jelly kitchen bakes around 100 fruitcakes a day and also makes an assortment of jellies, with apple butter being a fan favorite. Which, who's still buying fruitcakes?
Right? I was going to say, is there really that high of a demand for fruitcake?
I think it's like a collector's item.
Of the year?
It comes in a tin. Item. So I think people like buy it and then they like put it on the shelf and they say College of the Ozarks fruitcake.
Interesting. Okay.
So, yeah. Many former students, they comment on the inflexibility of the work schedules and say the maximum 15 hours a week required turn into much longer assignments with back-to-back shifts that are not reimbursed for. It also seems like they use a work schedule to mentally break down the more difficult students to a point where they're more pliable to indoctrination, and it takes away their free time to develop any sort of independent thought. So, like, former students have said that's what they think is happening here, that people who are determined to be more difficult or confrontational are given more work. So College of the Ozarks acceptance rate is lower than UC Berkeley and Notre Dame at 11%, and it has a 90% white student body. It touts the high standards and it handpicks its ideal students, but really it's just looking for people that they don't have to work as hard to brainwash.
Yeah.
So College of the Ozarks, they demand that all of their students fit perfectly into the Christian, conservative, straight, patriotic mold, and they are incredibly strict about enforcing their policies. Non-compliance, challenging discourse, differing opinions, complaints, or criticism are expressly prohibited, and those that don't comply are vehemently discriminated against, mocked, or can even face expulsion just for complaining about the dining hall not having gluten-free options. Like, seriously. The politics of the school are described as being like a high school, with the policies only benefiting those who donate to the college. The administration, the RAs, work supervisors, and students of higher standing humiliate and belittle any student that doesn't uphold the strict standards and policies. If they're out of dress code, they have a hair out of place, they're threatened with expulsion for the most minor infraction. They can even be students can even face being kicked out for things as silly as wearing the wrong color socks to their work assignments, which happened to my cousin, actually. He wore the wrong color socks to work, and they threatened to kick him out. Not like, go home and change, here's a warning, like, come back tomorrow with the right color socks. They said either you can have someone bring you white socks or you can pack up and go.
I feel like maybe if this is the level of control that you are seeking out, just join the military.
Right.
Because, like, they'll let you go to school anywhere you want to go to school. You might get shot. You might die in a war zone. But, you know, they'll tell you what color socks to wear. And then send you off to school, guys.
It's even further, I think, than military. Because, like, in military, you get your time off. Not a lot.
Yeah, you get your time off. You get paid for being there. And then they'll send you to school and tell you what color socks to wear.
Well, like, the going to this college and then going into the military pipeline is real. I mean, they have, I'll get into this a little bit later, but they have, like, military programs and stuff.
Well, and I feel like, too, after 4 years of school, having that level of control, like, you kind of need to go into an environment where, like, your time is very, like, dictated for you. Because you wouldn't have, like, developed many, like, personal timekeeping skills at that point.
Right. Like, time budgeting skills.
Yeah.
Back to their policies. Students who are considered liabilities, such as people who are disabled or need special accommodations, something even as simple as allergies, have been expelled or put into situations where they're not able to work due to their restrictions, and then expelled or dismissed for noncompliance or under the basis of them just being a liability, which it sounds like eugenics with extra steps, honestly.
Yeah, right?
There was one story about a girl who, like, was allergic to fish, and they put her in an environment where she'd have to be working with fish, and then they just kicked her out because she was obviously going into, like, anaphylactic shock working with fish.
The fuck?
Yeah, it's insane. So, back to the military pipeline. Their patriotism has been described as more militant, with students being taught they need to be prepared to die for their patriotic and Christian beliefs. Much to the tune like the evangelicals had after Columbine, where they're like, she said yes and she got shot. Which, if you've watched Fundy Friday stuff about that, like, you know that's not, none of that's true. The Columbine stuff is fake.
Hey friends, editing Devan here. Just a little quick note. That wasn't a Columbine denying statement. Obviously, we're not fucking stupid. Columbine happened. We all lived through it. What we are denying or saying didn't happen is that whole narrative of that She Said Yes book. That never happened. You can look it up. It was made up. Okay, back to the show.
Anyways, these people got to be prepared to die for Jesus. As of 2017, incoming freshmen are required to enroll in a course titled Patriotic Education and Fitness, which combines military-style drills with military science. College of the Ozarks also refuses to play any team who kneels for the national anthem or use Nike products in their limited athletic programs because if Nike isn't proud of America, we're not proud of Nike.
Jesus. That's a bold stance for a company that manufactures all their shit in China. Like, of course, you guys. Did you ever think that they were a patriotic company? Like...
Yeah. Like, okay.
Are you wearing Adidas? Because, guys, they probably manufacture those in China, too.
All right, back to the school. Anyways, so...
Yes.
Behaviors are controlled as well, with premarital sex being completely forbidden and marriage before graduation heavily discouraged. These policies are enforced by strictly gendered dorms, no available on-campus married student housing, and a maximum amount of commuting positions available, basically saying, like, if you are married, we can't guarantee that you're going to be allowed to come to the college. They don't want their students distracted by things like sex or interpersonal relationships. They want to keep them focused on their brainwashing.
Heaven forbid. This reminds me very much of, like, BYU TikTok, where they're all talking about soaking.
Yeah. This is honestly more strict, I think, than BYU. There are more, I think, prohibitive policies at BYU, but this is like, if your socks are the wrong color, you will be expelled. Like, their reaction to people not meeting the standards is immediate expulsion for most things.
Yikes.
So the administration openly promotes conversion therapy for LGBTQ plus people and rejects mental illness in its counseling department. It's been labeled the worst school for LGBTQ students in America by some publications. Many former students have said they were expelled on the grounds of mental illness caused by the cutthroat harassment they experienced for minor infractions, burnout from their intense work schedules, and their refusal to change their sexual orientation. One former student, Sarah Craig, wrote an op-ed for the Springfield News Leader about the abuse that they faced as a queer non-binary trans person going to the school. Now, Saren was originally from a small town in Missouri and was raised in an extremely conservative household that rejected LGBTQ plus identities. Saren, whose father also attended the College of the Ozarks, was really only given this as the choice of college to attend, which they did in January of 2001. Saren met a girl on campus and started to have feelings towards her, but felt that they had to hide their identity because it was demonized on campus and they were scared to lose their only chance at going to college, which is a theme amongst a lot of other people who struggle here, is that they're scared of losing their only chance to get higher education, which is what the administration uses to manipulate their students anyways. In the spring of 2002, Saren met with a college-licensed professional counselor through the school who actually started practicing conversion therapy on them. So these are licensed professionals who are using conversion therapy, and it's a theme at other colleges as well. Now, Saren realized that they needed to get out of the counseling department because that's what their degree was in, and they needed to leave the college because it was weaponizing its position of power and trust to manipulate and take agency away from the vulnerable students who didn't fall into the straight Christian standards. Saren left the college, joined the Air Force, finished their master's degree from a different college, and currently actually practices as a counselor who counsels young LGBTQ plus people in Oregon. and is part of a class action lawsuit filed by the Religious Exemption Accountability Project to push back against faith-based discrimination. Now, College of the Ozarks, back to them. They have faced their fair share of scandals, not just with all of their, like, policies and the shady shit that they do, but in 1993, an article titled "Blacks Still Not Wanted at Many Christian Colleges" called College of the Ozarks the second most racist college, with the distribution of white students being 93% at the time, which it's 90% now. It's not really gotten much better.
What's the first most racist if they're the second?
I didn't look to see what that was.
Damn, I can only imagine.
Probably BYU.
Oh, that's fair, yeah. I never see any black people on BYU TikTok. It's
Well,
all just
remember
a bunch of
that...
blonde white kids.
Well, remember that, like, Mormons think that black people are the devil.
Oh, that's right. Oh, speaking of Mormons, so one of our listeners and one of my personal friends, apparently her husband is ex-Mo. Caitlin, I will remove her name, but she messaged me. She's like, you know, John used to be Mormon, right? I was like, oh my God, you have to tell me everything. So then I asked her, actually, we might leave this in. I don't think she'll care. I asked her, I'm like, okay, first you need to ask him about the sacred panties, and then I need to know if soaking is a thing in the Mormon circles.
I want to know the handshake.
I didn't even know there's a Mormon shake. Caitlin.
There's secret handshakes.
Handshake.
There's different handshakes, Devan.
I didn't know. Okay, you need to... Girl, if you're listening, I know you're listening. I need to know still about the panties. Secondly, about the soaking. And thirdly, I need you to learn the handshake so that we can infiltrate the Mormon church and community. Just to, like, for funsies.
We need to infiltrate the church.
I need to just, like, get into the temple and, like, acquire a pair of the sacred panties just so that I can know that they are, like, legit a thing. And then we can, like, get one of those shadow boxes and, like, hang it on the wall somewhere.
And take a picture. Take a selfie. In the baptism chamber.
Yeah, with the sacred panties.
Pretend like we're going to do baptisms for the dead and then just, like, run.
Sorry.
Okay.
I just had to throw that in there.
No, that's good. That's a good contribution. So, in 1994, they were compared to Jonestown due to the lack of intellectual, academic, and personal freedom, which held them back in their quest to become an accredited institution. It was a big scandal. In 2003, they were put on blast for hiring Professor Larry Cockrum, In 2003, they were put on blast for hiring Professor Larry Cockrum. His name is Cockrum, like cock and rum. Which, you shouldn't be in higher education. You should be making porn at that rate. But anyways.
I feel like there's no way he didn't have the nickname Professor Cockroach. Or just like Professor... Well, no, because they're very Christian, so they wouldn't be saying the cock word.
Yeah, no. Anyways, his degrees were from the fake diploma mill Crescent City Christian College, and he got kicked out. Or, they fired him because he wasn't a real professor. But now he actually works as a president at the University of the Cumberlands, which is another affordable university in Kentucky. In 2017, they were labeled as the most hostile and unfriendly campus towards LGBTQ plus people by the Princeton Review based on a survey that they ran amongst a lot of students. In 2018, 2 female students were abducted and sexually assaulted after missing curfew by 10 minutes and being locked out of their dorms.
Jesus,
the school's public statement... Huh?
Was it by another student?
I think it was just by, like, a member of the community.
Oh, still.
But...
Fuck.
While the school claimed their public statement was that the students could get in even after missing curfew, many students and alumni popped up to say, hey, no, like, if we missed curfew, we would have been expelled. And you did expel some people for missing curfew. So if given the choice to call campus security to let them in the building or wait until the next day, often people would just sleep in their cars or off campus. So no, you're wrong. They could not have just gotten into the building.
Yeah.
And basically they were just victim blaming these people and saying, like, well, it's their fault. In 2021, College of the Ozarks filed an injunction and temporary restraining order to provide protection for the college while they filed a federal lawsuit against the Biden administration.
Oh, you're fucking kidding me.
So the college was basically challenging the directive from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to provide reasonable accommodations to trans people under the Fair Housing Act. The college claims that their religious beliefs and freedom are being threatened because they only believe in biological sex and that the Biden administration is forcing them to violate their religious beliefs by opening the dorms and bathrooms to people of the opposite gender. Because gender is not a construct, you're only born with it one gender, according to them. And it endangers the female students. So they are currently working their way through the 8th District Appeals Court to try to have the case expedited. And I'm sure that we'll hear more about that soon. Jesus but their Christ. Injunction and temporary restraining order was denied. So they face fines. But the thing is, like, if I'm trans, I'm not trying to go to the College of the Ozarks.
No.
Like.
No, yeah, no. I shouldn't say no real, trans person would choose to go there, but. Because, if you get desperate for a college degree, there's a lot you would do, but.
Right.
I can't see the trans population there being, particularly high.
Right. College of the Ozarks. It's not technically a cult, according to most people, but if you ask me, it fits pretty well into the BITE model, which, for anyone who's unaware, the BITE model is a model to determine how culty an authoritarian control or organization is based on their behaviors, and that's based on how they control their followers' behaviors, the information given to their followers' thoughts, and their followers' emotions. So I'm just going to go through and list a few of the elements under each box that I think that the college falls into, which honestly they fit into almost all of the BITE model, except for the ones that are like really brutal and violent, like murdering members. So under the behavior box, they control of their students, when, how, and with whom the member has sex, controls the types of clothing and hairstyles. They manipulate and deprive people of sleep. They financially exploit and manipulate dependents of their members. They restrict leisure, entertainment, and vacation time. Majority of time is spent in the group with their indoctrination and rituals, and they are denied like an outside opinion. They discourage individualism and encourage groupthink. They impose rigid rules and regulations. They punish disobedience, and they instill dependency and obedience in their students. That's just under the behavior box. So information control, they're deceptive. They deliberately withhold information. They distort information, lie. They minimize or discourage access to non-cult or organization sources of information, including critical information, and they keep members busy so that they don't have time to think and investigate. They compartmentalize information into outsider versus insider doctrines. They encourage spying and tattling on members. They impose a buddy system. They encourage students to report others' deviant thoughts, feelings, actions, behaviors. And they have an unethical use of confession. Under thought control box, they require members to internalize the group's doctrine as truth. They instill black and white thinking, organize people into us versus them. They have the use of loaded language and cliches, which constrict knowledge, stop critical thoughts, and reduce complexities into buzzwords. I can't say that bigger word. They encourage only good and proper thoughts, teach thought-stopping techniques. They reject rational analysis, critical thinking, and constructive criticism, and they forbid critical questions about the leader, doctrine, or policy. So emotional control, the last box of the BITE model, they manipulate and narrow the range of feelings. Some emotions and or needs are deemed as evil, wrong, or selfish. They make the person feel that the problems are their own fault, not the leaders or the group's or the college's fault. they promote feelings of guilt or unworthiness, instill fear, such as fear of thinking independently, losing one's salvation, leaving or being shunned, and they have ritualistic and sometimes public confession of sins. They also have a phobia indoctrination, which creates irrational fears in the students about leaving the group. So, like, that's an important one, is they have these students so scared of being kicked out of the school that they're scared to do anything wrong and will immediately try to remedy something that they did do wrong, even if it's they wore the wrong socks. So, really, I mean, I think the work college model would be a great idea if it wasn't a crazy Christian cult college. So really, like, the work college model, it would probably be a good idea for college if it weren't like a crazy Christian cult college. Mm-hmm. Like, I would pay to work 15 hours a week if I didn't have to pay for student loans, but like,
oh yeah,
what they're doing is they're taking advantage, they're using their power and authority to take advantage of the poor, vulnerable youth, especially in the area, and indoctrinate them with their fundamentalist, right-wing, really kind of like strict militant beliefs. And like I said, they wield the fear of expulsion from the only college that a lot of these kids can afford, like a rod over the heads of the students, to emotionally manipulate them into the compliance of their policies. So that is my story about the College of the Ozarks.
Well, I'm sorry to say that your cousin is probably, definitely in a cult.
Yeah, he's definitely in a cult. Also, I think that he's going on like a mission trip, and he's like getting married to a girl after he graduates, of course, because that's what the school is about. Mm-hmm. But they're like going on a mission trip after they get married, and then they're just like, they don't believe in birth control, so they're just like not gonna have sex the entire time that they're married for 3 years on a mission trip in Africa.
Good luck. God, the second that they get married, those hormones are gonna be rolling in, and they're either gonna have to be like getting birth control or just getting babies.
Even my great-grandma, who was like extremely Catholic and had 14 children, was like, if I could change one thing about my life, if I have one regret, it's that I didn't use birth control.
Well, God, yeah, after 14 kids, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, 12 of them lived to adulthood.
I mean, that's a pretty good batting average.
She had 4 sets of twins.
Well, okay, I was going to say that's awful, but at the same time, that means she had to give birth less often, so maybe that's not awful in her case.
I don't know. That, I miss that lady, but I feel sorry for her.
Mm-hmm. They'd just be walking themselves out after a certain point.
Mm-hmm. She also lived to be like 97 or something.
That is fucking incredible.
Yeah, a lot of my grandparents lived to be really old. Knock on wood.
Damn. Is your cousin like from the Ozarks, or did he just like find out about this college and...
No, I think he just found out about this college, and he's like, we have a lot of kids in my family. I'm not going to be able to afford college. Like, take out a loan like the rest of us.
All right. There's a lot of other ways to go about that, but I mean, maybe he'll wear the wrong color socks and get expelled one day. Devan's story time. Ooh.
What are you going to talk about?
Well, shall we get into it so we don't get too sidetracked?
Yeah, talk about the band.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, so this was misleading. So I told Ashlee today what I was covering. I was like, I'm doing this, but also this. And the two stories have nothing to do with one another. But one was just like a small tidbit, and I saw a TikTok about it. I'm like, that's interesting and funny. So, well, it's not really funny. It's actually like the opposite of that. But anyway, I know Ashlee is familiar with King Harvest, band from like the 70s. Mm-hmm. And if you guys know that song, Dancing in the Moonlight, da-da-da-da, feeling. Yeah, so that song. Okay.
So she sent it to me, and she was like, this is what I'm doing. And I was like, the band? I was like, maybe it's something else.
Exactly.
It's the band.
It was the band. So the reason I'm talking about it is because that particular song, it's like, what vibe do you get from that song? Let me just ask you. It's like very groovy, like happy, upbeat, kind of like we're going to be naked and like dancing on the beach in the moonlight.
Yeah, but also, like, there's a little bit of darkness to it. Like, the dancing in the moonlight might be like you're sacrificing a child to
do you want to hear
moon goddess.
Why there's darkness to that song that you might be picking up on?
Tell me.
Oh, because I'm about to tell you. So, the guy that wrote the song, his name is Sherman Kelly. And so he, back in the 60s, he and a bunch of buddies actually, they lived in St. Thomas, which is in the Virgin Islands. And so all these like white dudes that live there, they owned this nightclub on St. Thomas. And so one day they're like, well, we're going to go rent a 65-foot yacht and we're going to go over to St. Croix for the day. And so they did. But Sherman didn't. As one does, yeah. And as an island boy, Sherman Kelly, for some reason, didn't know that he gets boat sick. Like, violently boat sick. He and his girlfriend both. And so he and his girlfriend, on the way over to St. Croix on their 65-foot yacht, get super sick. And so when they get to the St. Croix, everyone, like, disembarks the ship. They get on a little dinghy, and they motorboat themselves to the shore to go out to dinner and like hang out on the island. And so once they get back to the beach, everyone's like, we're going to just motorboat back to the yacht and sleep there for the night and then we'll head back. And he and his girlfriend were like, no, we're going to fucking vomit our brains out. We can't do that. And so they like hop around to a few different hotels to find somewhere to stay. But Sherman had forgot his wallet on the yacht, so they didn't have any money. So what they decided to do is that they were like, we are just going to camp out on the beach. We'll just sleep on the beach. It is 1969. Summer love, baby. Like, we're just hippies free balling it on the beach. That was a fucking mistake. Because what ends up happening to Sherman and his girlfriend is that they end up being the victims of a really violent street gang in St. Croix. And so Kelly is like severely beaten nearly to death by 5 gang members with baseball bats. His girlfriend is essayed by the gang leader. Luckily, at some point during this attack, Kelly, he regains his consciousness enough to like make enough noise to get them to fucking back off. And so these two, like near the brink of death, are able to like hobble themselves to a hospital. And so it turns out this gang was like notoriously violent. They're called the Fountain Valley Gang, and they like murdered a bunch of tourists in St. Croix that year. They did both survive. They spent a lot of time in a St. Croix hospital. Eventually they were healthy enough to get back to New York, and in New York the doctors had to reset and re-break all of his bones and in his face and arms and stuff to recover from the injury. So while he was recovering from this traumatic event, he was like, I wish that night on the beach that we had all just been like dancing in the moonlight, feeling fun and bright. And so like he wrote this song because he got his ass beat on the beach, and he's like, I wish that it was just, this is the experience that we had instead of this experience. So I just thought that was a fun little tidbit of pop culture history, that the reason we have that fun, happy song is because someone got their ass beat nearly to death.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, so, but that has absolutely nothing to do with the actual story that I picked for today. That was just a fun TikTok tidbit that I picked up. So, the story that I actually picked is the story of the Gore Orphanage. So, if you, like I mentioned, watched the little bonus video that we put up on YouTube, and Ashlee's going to get us our visual representation of this. One of the things that I gifted to her for Valentine's Day was this little jar that she's showing off. It is full of haunted dirt from the site of the quote-unquote Gore Orphanage. And fun fact, that actually was a purchase that I had made for myself, but I had to get rid of it because like literally the day that I ordered it, I started having dreams about this fucking jar of dirt and how having it in my house was making my cat's tails fall off. And so the tails would shrivel up, and then there was this big demon creature that would grab the tails and like whip them around. And I was like, I can't fucking have this dirt in my house anymore, man. So then I was like, nope, Ashlee is better equipped for this, so she gets to just have this little thing. Anyways.
Which, by the way, I've not had any, knock on wood, had any like nightmares like that.
Well, I think I just like psyched myself out.
I think you did.
So this dirt from the site of the Gore Orphanage, I was like, I have to do a deep dive on this. And I am going to spoil things by saying we have been absolutely fucking bamboozled by this fucking jar. Really doubtful. So, the legend of the Gore Orphanage, it comes out of a town called Vermillion, and it's like 40-ish miles west of Cleveland in the strange and scary state of Ohio. And actually, looking this up, Ohio has a lot of haunted locations.
Also, Ohio's fucked. There's a reason that most astronauts come from Ohio. It's because Ohio is the worst.
Because they want to get fuck off this planet. Because they're from Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio's fucked up. If you're from Ohio, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Like, we can start a GoFundMe so you can move. Yeah.
Also, if you're from Ohio, DM us and weigh in on the Vermillion Gore Orphanage situation. But, setting the scene a little further here, of course, because it's a spooky story, it takes place in a small town of about 10,000 people. As of, 2018, I think that's what the population was. So, of course, today back in the day, it was probably much less. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So, according to that urban legend, the Gore Orphanage was established, arbitrarily sometime in the 1800s. There's no, set date for this legend. And it was run by an old man that was only ever known as Old Man Gore, which, if that doesn't tell you this story is bullshit, I don't know what does. But since this is a legend, we got to set up the spooky backstory. So, of course, Old Man Gore is a fucking dick to the kids at the orphanage, and he just, neglected and abused the kids in his care. And then on October 22nd of 1910, the orphanage catches on fire. So, Old Man Gore was able to escape the burning building, but he left a dozen or so orphans inside the building to fend for themselves. Allegedly, the children tried to escape down the stairs of the building, but unfortunately the stairs were already engulfed in flames, and all of the kids at the orphanage perished in the fire, and the entire orphanage itself, down to the foundation, burned to the ground that day, which, if you reference the bottle, the art on the bottle shows a picture of a building. There is no building left there at the site of this urban legend.
It's an old picture, though. Oh, yeah, it's burnt.
Well,
it's burnt.
Yeah. It's a burnt building, but the entire building, according to this legend, burnt to the ground. So
also, the foundations don't burn because they're usually made out of stone. Mm-hmm. Also,
well, that was the thing, is that the whole building burned. All that was left, I guess I should have said, was the foundation.
Yeah.
Do you want
the other thing?
The room? Sorry. Oh, cat break. Do, 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 do. Hey, bless you, daddy. Boop, boop, boop. Thank you.
Like, all right, one of the houses down the road just burned down, and, there's still some shit. It's fully burned down, but there's, random boards, that just, fell off.
Right. So. Well, and I guess people had to say that, because the site where people go to visit that's, haunted, there's nothing there. But anyway, we'll get to that. So, of course, people have their theories about how the fire started, that kind of tie into this story. So, some believe that, of course, it was an act of insurance fraud by Old Man Gore, and others think that he started it because he was truly just a sadist and just fucking hated kids and wanted to watch them suffer. And then others...
So fuck them kids.
Yeah, the real fuck them kids moment. And then others blame an unnamed crazy man. I'm doing air quotes, you guys that are listening. A crazy man who lived in the nearby woods by the orphanage. And they say that he simply, what's funny is I wrote this in my notes. He simply had enough of the children making noise and disturbing his peace and quiet and really said, fuck them kids. So we're really just going to stick to that phrase for this episode. It's just a fuck them kids episode. And
Which, if you're a wild man, you can move anywhere.
Yeah, and crazy old wild man in the forest was like, I don't want to move anywhere, though. So instead he burns down an entire building full of orphans. I shouldn't laugh at that. But the idea of it is just a little preposterous. So, of course, there's other theories, and, white people just be doing white people shit, and they blame the fire on the Native American population. And then one of the more tame excuses given is that one of the children knocked over a lantern and then shit just went south real quick. So we got a lot of possible scenarios here. However, this is an urban legend. So we know that per the legend, loads of kids died, and, you know, that's where the quote-unquote haunting comes from, allegedly. So there is a swath of land in this general region of Ohio that people believe is where the orphanage once stood, and that's where people say the hauntings take place. But keep in mind, like we said earlier, per the legend, the entire building burnt down. All that's left is parts of the foundation, and that doesn't really keep people away from visiting the site, though. And it very much has, like, the vibe the story does of, like, that local hometown haunt that I think everyone has, like, one of these in their city. But they kind of just, like, sort of pick a creepy looking place and decide it's haunted. So, like, for example, if you're from a particular region of Illinois, if you are, shout out to you. But in my hometown, there was this thing called Crybaby Bridge. And so it was, like, a little ways out of town. And the story was that there was, like, a bus or a van full of school kids that, like, run off a bridge and died in the river below. And so if you're parked on the bridge and put your car in neutral, this is totally not even related to the story, but I feel like now I'm invested. I have to tell you guys about this. So Crybaby Bridge, little insert, then we'll get back to the meat of the story here that's actually relevant. If you park your car on this bridge, a bunch of little ghost kids, if you put your car in neutral, will push you, either try to push you across the bridge to safety or off the bridge to your death. I'm never clear on what the actual legend is. Spoiler alert, like 99% positive that no kids ever died on that bridge. And that, guess what? The bridge is just built on a slight incline. So, like, if you put your car in neutral, you're just fucking rolling, homie. And then, like...
Well, the other thing is, like, people will put, like, baby powder on their trunk to, like, catch the kids' handprints. But it's literally oil from your hands. Because it's not just, like, small handprints. If you have children that touch your car, it's, like, adult-size handprints, so...
Oh, yeah. And that's actually the next thing that I wrote was about the baby powder. And, like, guys, no, it's just your own hands on the trunk. But that's the vibe that the story gives. Is, like, just the absurdity of, like, those local, like, hometown legends that are, like, rarely ever true.
Okay, quick side note. Ours was an abandoned asylum / sanitarium that has since been torn down. But the building that was left was, like, right next to this studio where I had dance class. And when I was, like, a teenager and had to drive there at, like, 8 o'clock at night to go to dance class, I had to park my car because it was, like, this tiny-ass little parking lot. I couldn't put my big 150, 1975 150 in that parking lot, so I had to, like, park on the road next to the asylum. And so it was just creepy as fuck. I'd be out there, like, 9 o'clock at night, like, running to my car. And then, like, my truck was old, so it was, like, hard to get into sometimes. And sometimes the door would freeze. And so I'd just be, like, shaking on the handle, like, I want to get in the car. Like, this building was not actually even used as part of the asylum. It was used as, like, the administrative building. So it wasn't, it was haunted, but it was just creepy. Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
See, that feels like it's more legitimate, though, than, like, this story where there's literally not even a building there. So still, people, they're, like, visiting the site where they think an orphanage once stood. But, like, my other gripe with this story is, let's assume this all happened in the 1800s up until, like, 1910. Was there no record keeping of that day? Because, like, if there was a whole ass building, a whole ass orphanage in this area, you would have thought that there would have been some sort of record of it, and there just is nothing.
They didn't have internet. That would have been front page of the news. They've been like, the orphanage burned down, bunch of kids died.
Right, and, like, some sort of public record of, like, a building or, like, a deed or something, and there's just nothing. So, anyway, back to our legend that people are making up. There are, quote-unquote, at the site of this haunting where there is nothing, there's, like, remnants of a building, but that's just the foundation remnant, so, like, there's not any physical structures there. people go visit it. And so here are some of the experiences that they are saying they have. So they say that they hear loud roaring fire and smell smoke on the property. They also say that they see the ghost of orphans covered in flames running into the woods. Honestly, probably to go beat that crazy forest man's ass for setting their house on fire, if I had to guess. I'm also guessing that they perished like before the advent of the stop, drop, and roll method. And that's why they're still on fire. So there are also reports of shadowy shape being spotted on the grounds, and people have pretty much decided that this is the ghost of whomever started the fire. Like, they're just assigning that identity to this shape that they're seeing. And of course, like with any good haunting, people claim to hear footsteps on what is believed to be a remnant of the porch. So part of that concrete foundation that's still there, they're like, oh yes, this is the porch. We hear creepy footsteps on it. And of course, with the creepy footsteps, they hear creepy Victorian children's songs because it's an orphanage. So of course we do. Aside from the creepy Victorian songs, we also have back to bridges, actually, haunted by dead kids. So apparently there is a bridge nearby the property where people report seeing small kids in period clothing that disappear as you cross the bridge. So that's a fun little tidbit. There's
okay,
also
but that's something that I would have done as a child, is dress up in period clothing, because I did have a lot of period clothing as a child.
American Girl, like a very teenage prankster thing to, like, especially if you know your buds are like gonna go out to the haunted Gore Orphanage, like
I would totally dress up as a Victorian child and just like hide in places. It's very appealing to me. So,
I don't know why creepy kids on a bridge is like a recurring theme with haunted stories, but maybe that's a Midwestern thing. I don't know.
Because people are scared of bridges. They're scary.
Bridges are scary. I will give you that. But, like, back to teenagers pulling pranks, there's also been reports of satanic activity in the area. To me, this just says that there's, like, a local goth teens, and they're just meeting up there because it's, like, spooky, and the religious folks in town are just assuming they're doing, like, satanic rituals, when really all they're doing is just, like, meeting up to smoke Marlboro Reds and drink Boone's Farm, like, away from their parents. That's how I read into that. And also fucking with people, you know, driving by, trying to get spooked. And there's also an interesting photo floating around. If I can find it again, I'll definitely send that to you or put it in here somewhere. But there's a photo floating around of what people claim is a small girl in period attire, like, peeking out from behind a tree on the property. But it also looks like every Bigfoot photo ever taken. So it could literally be fucking anything.
Just like some spider webs.
Yeah, like I saw the picture in a YouTube video. I'm like, that looks like nothing, but also it could be anything all at once. So I don't know about that one.
Actually, just like hanging out on the side of a tree.
Probably so. Like, I really need to find that picture for you because it's just ridiculous that they're saying that that's what that looks like, because it does not. But if you do happen to visit this area, apparently there's ways that you can get the ghost children to come out and play with you. So apparently, per legend, if you park your car on the road and flick your headlights on and off 3 times, you'll not only hear the screams of dying children, which, like, is sort of fucked up. That doesn't sound very fun. But also, in addition to that, apparently again, this is legend. I can't fucking prove any of this. There was a young couple that went out one night to get spooky scared to death and also probably make out with each other. And so they, like, did this little trick with the headlights, and they started hearing what sounded like rain on the windshield. And when they inspected further, it wasn't rain. It was blood. And they saw a child hanging from the tree above them, bleeding out. Spooky, scary. Probably didn't happen.
Yeah, probably not.
So, yeah. That's the legend. And here's where I ruin the fun and spoil the party. Basically, by telling you that there is absolutely no historical evidence that this orphanage ever existed. Like, we established this earlier. But guys, there's nothing. There was a building, or I'm sorry, there was no building by that name. There was no Mr. Gore that we could factually prove. Thankfully, this also means that there was no burnt up orphans. But I'm not going to discredit the people of Vermillion entirely, because there's several stories that this legend is probably derived from if you like smush them all together and squint real hard. So the first event actually is a fire, and it didn't take place in the town of Vermillion, though. It happened at an elementary school in Collinwood, and that was a small town that's now a part of Cleveland. So it's like 30 or 40 miles from the site of the orphanage. So at this actually real school, because there were records of this, on March 4th of 1908, a janitor, he smelled smoke coming from the basement of the building, and so he rings the fire alarm. He managed to escape the building. However, a large number of children and faculty weren't as lucky. So the way the school was built and set up, there's only 2 exits. So by the time everyone gets ushered to the first exit of the building, the doorway is completely blocked by flames. They can't get out, so they all try to go to the back of the building, and that door is locked in a manner that they cannot unlock it from the inside. And so basically they are fucked. So firefighters were unable to get the door open in time to rescue the kids. And of the 370 staff and pupils in the building, 172 children and 1 teacher end up dying in the fire. So 172 kids of this community all died that day. And actually, the photo on the outside of your jar, guess what it is? It's this school. It's this school. Yep. And so it takes firefighters a long time, longest time to put out this fire because it was huge, and the cause is never determined. So that is likely ingredient number 1 of our like fictionalized orphanage haunting sandwich. So let's get to ingredient number 2. It's called the Swift Mansion. And so this home, it was actually built in Vermillion, in the area where this legend is said to have taken place in the 1820s, by a man named Joseph Smith, and he lived there with his family for a long period of time. And during their time living there, the Swift family lost 2 kids to various Victorian children ailments, like who the fuck knows, tuberculosis, the scarlet fever, who knows? I don't. But they died.
Tumors.
Tumors, the Black Death. Pick your poison. Yeah, the kids died. That's the moral of the story. And so they lived there until 1865. And at this point, the mansion is sold off to the Wilbur family. And the Wilbur family had a little bit of a reputation for being kind of like weird and eccentric. Realistically, they just had this reputation because they were known spiritualists and liked to hold seances in their house. And really, I can't confirm this with anything more than offhanded mentions of it in a YouTube video, but apparently the seances were meant to, quote unquote, call upon the souls of small children back to Earth.
Didn't I send you something about this on TikTok?
Maybe?
It was like they were.
It's a good possibility.
I think they were some of the first spiritualists. But continue.
Yeah, well, they lived in this mansion, the Swift Mansion. They were holding seances, bringing dead kids back to Earth, probably because they lost 4 grandchildren to diphtheria during the pandemic that happened in like the 1890s. So that makes the statement like a little less off-putting, that it wasn't just like random kids that they were like calling back from the fucking netherworlds. We like talk about the spiritual movement a lot, and like people have been talking about ghosts forever, so they were just kind of like the cool witchy neighbors that people I think were just a little scared of but also like intrigued by, because in this time period of the 1860s through like the early 1910s, people were holding seances like left, right, and center. Like it was just a fun casual Tuesday night activity. They were in Ohio, and like the I feel like Ohio is a very religious state, and it probably was more so back then. So, they were a little eccentric, but that's about it. So that's ingredient number 2. We've got a creepy mansion. used by weirdo neighbors to call upon dead children. So check that off the list. We're going to throw that into our Subway sandwich. And then when Mr. Wilbur dies and the house is sold again, we get to ingredient number 3, which is the Sprunger family. So we have another Joseph. I just now noticed. His name is Joseph Sprunger. So he's the proud new owner of this creepy old mansion where children have perished. And what a better way to utilize this creepy old mansion than to turn it into an orphanage that he dubs the Light and Hope Orphanage. And so it opens its doors in 1903. And as far as the orphanage goes, this is like the only thing we know for certain is that year, because apparently, again, records keeping in rural Ohio at that time, just not a fucking thing. So for starters, like, let's not get excited about this orphanage idea, because like this mansion was not at the location where people now go to visit the haunted Gore Orphanage. It's nearby. It's not on the same road, but it's like in the general vicinity. So there is some disagreement about where and like why and the what's of this orphanage. So a lot of people don't think that it actually was in the main home in that mansion, and that the orphans were kept off site. So like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, I don't know if it meant they built a barn in the woods. Is that why there's a crazy man in the forest, like roaming the forest pissed off because the kids live in the forest with him and he hates it? They're on his lawn. I don't know. So regardless of where these kids are actually kept, the orphanage also doubled as a school for teaching quote unquote destitute children skills like agricultural work. So basically like a trade school for, you know, child labor. And so much like the actual urban legend, apparently the children's treatment at this school and orphanage wasn't great, and the Sprungers were like the kind of crazy religious that believed in faith healing over medicine. So they weren't getting medical care, and they were also basically just fed garbage and leftovers from the main family's dinner. And apparently also the building that they were kept in was infested with rats and bed bugs, and the children would often be rented out to local farmers basically for slave labor.
So kind of like College of the Ozarks.
Kind of like College of the Ozarks. However, on the flip side of this, again, remember, we have no record keeping. This is Ohio in 1903. So there's a flip side to this, because like I mentioned before, no fucking records ever anywhere. And there's a point that an article is published actually as recently as 2014 about this orphanage that implied that the kids were actually really well tended to and cared for until the orphanage closed in 1916, and that the only reason this other rumor has come about is because it kind of goes hand in hand with the Gore Orphanage thing and like makes the story spookier. So really the only provable information we have about this orphanage is that it opened in 1903, closed in 1916. So really people are just taking these 3 stories, so the story of that school that burnt down, the story of the creepy old house, and then the story of the subsequent orphanage that was in the area, and just smushing them together. And over decades and decades of time, people have just like accepted that this urban legend is fact, when in fact, it's not. So the last little piece of this puzzle that is left to be solved then is like how you get the name Gore Orphanage, because it's like kind of a creepy name, like Gore Orphanage. It just sounds bad.
Al Gore.
So, Al
Gore.
He is a creepy man. So he loves the environment, so we love him for that. But
wait, okay. Side note: this is not related to this, but it's related to Al Gore. You remember the rumor that Al Gore invented the internet?
Yes.
Is that why they call it the algorithm?
Da-dunce. Oh my god, what a good dad joke. Did you just come up with that?
No. I saw it somewhere.
No, you should have said that you came up with that. I would have believed it.
I did. I came up with that right here, right now.
Good. God, you're a comedic genius.
So smart. All right, back to the Gore Orphanage. Where did that name come from?
I'm going to put a nice little bow on this. We're almost done. So, Gore Orphanage. Okay, so we know it never existed. So the road where people are visiting this site of this orphanage is called Gore Road. But the term gore actually doesn't mean what you think it does. It's like a specialty tool that's used in clothing making back in the 1800s. And so when they were building this road, there was a surveying error. So the road ended up being this really weird shape that was reminiscent of this tool used to, make clothes back in the day. And then that's where it gets the name Gore Road. So eventually, the Light and Hope Orphanage that we talked about opens, down the road from here. So it's like not at the site where people visit, but it's a ways down the road on Gore Road. So eventually people just started kind of calling it Gore Orphanage Road because they were like, that's where the orphanage is. It's on Gore Road. We're going to give hillbilly directions like we do in small towns and be like, oh yeah, you go down to the orphanage road and take a right. And so it just kind of stuck. And so now it is officially called Gore Orphanage Road because that kind of became the shorthand nickname for this street, as locals would call it. And so that's kind of the story. So like your haunted dirt, it maybe came from the grounds of an old abandoned mansion. And potentially it was haunted by kids that had passed away from various old-timey diseases, but like it didn't come from the site of an orphanage fire. Basically, I bought you a jar of urban legend dirt, and then got scared of it and sent it to you. So now I feel really stupid. So here's a lesson to everyone listening. If you buy yourself a jar of haunted dirt on the internet, do your research before purchase to make sure that this is an actual site, an actual place. Because honestly, this lady probably just packaged up some potting soil and then bamboozled us both. So you're welcome for the life advice.
Or coffee grounds, because it kind of does look like coffee grounds a little bit.
Really? Yeah, it kind of does, actually, now that you mention it. It's like a very fine dirt, if it is dirt.
But it says not to be used for conjurings, so that would make me think that it's not actually, that kind of dirt.
Yeah.
They would be like, oh yeah, you can, but still, I love it.
It's a cute decor piece, but unfortunately, the Gore Orphanage just likely didn't exist, you guys. Sorry to bust it to you.
So you got a very expensive... it could still be haunted. Yeah. It did come from Ohio.
That's true, and Ohio is a very allegedly haunted state, according to my research. So, it could have... Isn't that where the demon house is that Zach Baggins went to? Is it in Ohio somewhere?
It's, I think
there we go.
Sally house there, too?
I think so, yeah. There's a lot of haunted sites there, so
I'm pretty sure that Ohio is just the portal to hell. I'm gonna be honest.
That makes sense. Apparently there's a graveyard not far from me. Well, it is far. It's like 45 minutes to an hour, but it's quote unquote a portal to hell, and it's in Kansas, so it makes sense that would be here. So that's the story of my bamboozlement and my not haunted dirt.
Well, don't you feel bad that you sent it to me now?
You know what? I don't feel bad that I sent it to you because I was psyching myself out so bad about that demon like swinging my cat's tails around like it was a fucking red vine. And I don't know why this is like the emotion I want to do with a red vine when I have it, but it just is. Oh, God. Let's wrap it up, though. This has been the adventure of the week. It's tarot time. Baby, it's tarot time. Let's find out tarot time. What's gonna happen this week?
So, you've been experiencing some setbacks with the Three of Wands reversed. But you're gonna have some good money coming your way with the Ace of Pentacles. Maybe a new job, maybe some new opportunities. You're feeling a little stressed out, a little sick with the Four of Swords reversed. But you're gonna have this King of Cups, this emotionally and like just very supportive masculine character that's gonna come in and he's gonna help you out. So
sugar daddy, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, big sugar daddy energy. So Seven of Swords, like you feel like you're putting on all of the shit, you don't know if you can handle it, but you're gonna come to a solution. So Two of Swords reversed, that's like you're having a breakthrough, you're not caught, you're not blindfolded anymore, you're gonna have a breakthrough, enlightenment. So
love to see it, guys.
That's our reading for the week.
That's perfect. And then, you know what? I'm going to be quite honest with you. I do not have a single FU that's coming to the top of my mind.
Oh, I do, but it's kind of like, fuck yeah for the other entity involved in this. So,
Okay.
did you see that former fitness influencer, now current Christian influencer, Brittany Dawn, has been sued by the state of Texas for her fraudulence in her original fitness scams. A little bit of background. She basically like had these like customized fitness programs that were really just the same ones she was sending off to people, and she was like telling people with eating disorders that like, oh yeah, I've experienced with overcoming eating disorders, and then she would tell them to like eat 1,200 calories a week and like exercise, and people were like starving on the plan and then like binging because they're starving. It was a whole thing. And she just set up like automated text to be like, you go girl, you got this. So she's getting sued by the state of Texas for like trade fraud. So fuck you to her.
Good.
Fuck yeah to Texas. Like finally doing something right.
Love it. That's a good one. And it's like true crimey, so that's excellent.
And like sort of culty fundamentalist type.
Hell yeah. Stuff. Well, like I said, I don't have any fuck yous. I'm choosing positivity this week, which is a rare occurrence. But my fuck yeah is that I recently ordered a London Fog latte with lavender syrup in it from a local coffee shop. And now I'm addicted. And then I bought myself all the ingredients to make them. And I made one this morning and it was really good. So that's my fuck yeah.
Which,
I
by the way, recipe. I told Devan about these like months ago. I was like, Devan, these are so good.
I know. I didn't believe it because, like, when I drink black tea, I just like black tea. I don't want any sweetener or anything in it. I don't want any milk in it. But for some reason, the combination of ingredients, it's the milk, it's the Earl Grey, the vanilla, the lavender. Oh my god, it was so good.
It's just like a lo-fi party in your mouth.
Yeah, it was delicious, and I'm on the London Fog bandwagon. I might try to make myself an iced one tomorrow morning. Actually, no, it's supposed to be snowy tomorrow morning, so I'll probably still do a hot bevy.
Yeah. But then, like, the next day when it's supposed to be, like, whatever, 50, 60, and then raining.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that is my fuck you for the week, is Midwestern weather, because it was 70 degrees today, and we are supposed to get 6 inches of snow within hours. Yeah. And I'm not thrilled about it. Not happy about it, but I'm gonna just think about my lattes, and like I said, we're gonna go back to choosing positivity for the week and pretend like I'm not on my one last marble.
See, I never choose positivity, I always choose violence. So
I feel like, you know what, I'm not even gonna get into it. I was gonna go on a customer service spiel, but if I do, I will just quickly tailspin into all negativity all the time. So we're gonna just pretend like I have a job where I cuddle kittens all day.
I do have one more fuck you, and it's to the guy from it's actually, you know what, it's what is it, Bright Edge? I don't know, it's some sort of a content management system. He has been calling me on my personal cell phone nonstop.
Ew.
For, like, company business. But, like, I don't have a company cell phone. I have a personal cell phone. So he's been calling me on my personal cell phone.
Hate it.
Nonstop. And I'm like, dude, I was like, I am not going to talk to you. Sorry. And he just keeps
He's probably the type of person that, like, inboxes people in LinkedIn. And that's, like, the worst kind of person.
Yeah. Like, those people, Even, like, for stuff like work anniversaries, sometimes I do it on accident where I'm like, oops, congrats. And then, because usually you can just, like, comment it, but sometimes I accidentally, like, message it to them. And I'm like, okay, well, it's too late now. But still, like, people that, like, message you on LinkedIn, not a vibe.
Unless you're actively job searching. But even then, it's, like, all recruiters that are, like, recruiting for a job that's, like, literally thousands of miles from where you actually live. And you're like, guys, like, did you really think?
And paying, like, $15,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like.
But.
No.
I sort of do regret, because after I left my last job, it left me low-key a little bit traumatized by some of the people that I worked with. And so I deleted my LinkedIn so that I never had to see those people again. And now I'm like, I should really have a LinkedIn, and I have like 3 connections. And I was like, you know what, that's fine, whatever, who fucking cares? But anyways,
I think I'm one of them, aren't I? Here.
Yeah, you're like one of my 3 connections. You and our friend Jess, and then I think I have like one other person that I don't actually know. They just like added me. I was like, yeah, sure, fine. Oh wait, no, the last person is someone that I met at my husband's high school reunion. And so I was networking, but I was also just really wine drunk. I would never network otherwise. Okay, guys, I'm gonna like call it here because it's almost my bedtime. So, thank you for listening. Don't forget, we had bonus content we updated last week. If you like hauls and unboxings, that's all it is. It's just us opening presents from one another. So if you're into that sort of thing, hey, go check it out. Otherwise, you can find us at our socials down below in whatever info box that happens to be on the platform that you are listening or watching to us on. And we will see you probably in about 2 weeks when we upload the next episode. But follow us on our Instagram so no one